Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Pavoni.
Here.
Ms. Perez. Mr. McIrvin.
Here.
Ms. Switchy.
Here.
Mr. Person.
Here.
Mr. Prince.
Here.
Mr. Corman.
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, one absent.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Pavoni.
I move that we excuse the absent council member.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Pavoni, second by Mr. Corman, that council excuse Councilmember Perez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So first thing on the agenda is a public hearing, and we have Cliff Long here to kick this off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Cliff Long, Economic Development Director, City of Renton. This evening, I'd like to talk to you about a proposal for street name changes in our community. And the issue at hand for City Council's consideration is, should City Council approve a street name change for the portion of North Park Drive situated between the termination of Logan Avenue North and Interstate 405 to be named a new North Southport Drive. And further, should City Council approve a street name change for the portion of Northeast Park Drive extending east of Interstate 405 to Northeast Sunset Boulevard at the connection to Sunset Boulevard Northeast for a new name of Northeast Sunset Boulevard. So in terms of background, this request has been initiated from Seco Development, the developer of the Southport Lake Washington project. And Raquel Timmons is here from the company in the audience this evening. As with previous street name requests, the latest being Seahawks Way, for example, this issue is brought before City Council as no administrative process exists. The rationale to request this street name change is that the applicant believes that wayfinding along and in vicinity to this street is complex due to the confusion caused by the current street naming. Further, the applicant believes that the change would serve to reduce the likelihood of motorist confusion as this area continues to grow. And lastly, that the applicant believes that their project, as well as the surrounding area, would benefit from consistent names and signage opportunities. In examining the merits of this, staff has found that there are no parcels along the affected corridor that are currently addressed from these streets, and therefore there should be no expense or disruption to adjacent property owners. Review of this proposal was requested from Community Services, Plan Review, Planning, Fire, Maintenance, Property Services, Transportation, Police, Surface Water, Wastewater Utility, and the Water Utility. And no opposition was expressed from any of these reviews. A condition was requested, and the condition is that at their sole expense, the applicant shall design, fabricate, and install all signs required to implement these street name changes. And so given that condition, staff recommends council approve the street name change from North Park Drive to North Southport Drive and from Northeast Park Drive to Northeast Sunset Boulevard, respectively. Here's a map showing in red the segment which would be named North Southport Drive, and in blue, Northeast Sunset Boulevard. And each of the numbered locations shown on the diagram would be where a sign would be changed. With that, Mr. Mayor, I will stand for questions.
Okay, thank you, Cliff. Any questions from council? Yes, Mr. McIrvin.
Sure, and I apologize, I missed the portion in Committee of the Whole, so maybe this was already answered earlier.
is there not, would there not be, I'm more concerned with the portion, the east portion of it. If you have Sunset Boulevard Northeast, would that not be a little bit confusing to also have Northeast Sunset Boulevard? Or am I understanding that?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman McCurven, that exists today. Actually, the segment running from Interstate 405 and where the blue segment is shown on this particular map, that is currently Northeast Park. And everything that runs east from Edmonds and up is Northeast Sunset Boulevard. This request would just continue the Northeast Sunset Boulevard all the way to Interstate 405. And it would leave unchanged the Sunset Boulevard Northeast section that does have address properties. It would leave that completely unchanged.
Okay,
Then the chair question?
I did.
Okay. Any other comment or questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Person.
I never understood why we had Park Drive Northeast to start with when it was first built. It has confused people for years and years and years, and I think this change will straighten that out.
Yeah, it is very confusing, without question. Okay, this is a public hearing. We have at least one person signed up to testify, Raquel Timmons, and I think you know the drill.
I do. I feel at home at this podium. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council President, members of the council. For the record, Raquel Timmons, and I am the Director of Planning and Development for Seco Development, and I am appreciative for being allowed to speak in support of the request. As you know, with the opening of the hotel, the Hyatt Regency at Lake Washington, we're experiencing a large influx of first-time visitors into the area. And upon completion of our final phase, which is our office towers, we're expecting a significant number of folks visiting the area, not just first-time visitors, but residents and employees. And we initiated this request to do many of the things that Cliff just mentioned. One, we believe that by the street name change, we will assist or support in wayfinding in the area. That extends all the way to I-405 and exit signage. We also believe this is an opportunity, as you all mentioned, to clean up some of the confusion with the common street names in Northeast Park Drive and Park Avenue, and Northeast Park Avenue. But we also believe that with the proposed street name change, there will be an opportunity to create a sense of place that isn't really present in the area, and it'll support that sense of place by extending that waterfront identity of Southport further south into the area. And so we are, of course, very much in support of the request in that we've initiated, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have of Seco.
Okay, I don't, council have any questions?
I do.
Oh, okay,
I
Mr.
just want to
Person.
confirm, I'm the money man.
Okay.
Seco is going to pay for all of the signage changes, whether it be on 405 or Park Drive or Sunset, and there'll be no expense either to the state or
All
the
costs.
city. All costs.
Yeah.
We've engaged both WashDOT, the city's transportation department, and a traffic consultant to start to
Thank you.
get
You
on
bet.
specifications.
Okay, thank you, Raquel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council.
I know we have action a little later, so what's the wish of the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
I move
Pavoni.
that we close the public hearing.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Pavoni, second by Mr. Corman, that we close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you.
Moving on to administrative report, Mr. Covington.
Mr. Mayor, just a couple of items. I wanted to remind the public, we had a nice Clam Lights celebration, the opening of the Clam Lights at Coolon Park Friday. The lights will be on from now through New Year's, 5 to 9 p.m. Encourage folks to go out and enjoy the lights, especially this week. Nice, clear, cool nights. You can get out there and enjoy them. You may see a new crane on the waterfront. We're in the in-water phase of our Bird Island Shoreline Restoration Project is underway, and so there's a crane there that's helping to do that work. We want to just remind folks this month of December is the last month you have to participate in the Clean Sweep program. That's for single residential customers. If you have additional waste or yard clippings or whatever that you'd like to pick up, you can contact Republic Services and schedule that day on your regular scheduled pickup day, and we hope folks will take advantage of that. We announced, we want to announce, we were the recipient of the Washington State Chapter American Public Works Association First Place Quality Award for our asphalt pavement construction in recognition of the high-quality asphalt pavement construction on Duval Avenue Northeast Pavement Preservation Project, rated as the best city asphalt paving project in the state of Washington for the year 2016. So, other than just reminding folks, we still have construction projects going, so be careful as you're out there driving, particularly in the dark, rainy weather. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Covington. We have nobody signed up for audience comments, so we're moving on to the consent agenda. We have 15 items for council consideration. Are there any items a council member would like pulled for discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Pavoni.
I move the council concur with the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Pavoni, second by Mr. Prince, that council concur with the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Pavoni.
Yes, Committee of the Whole has a couple of committee reports.
Hey, Committee of the Whole Committee Report, North-South Port Drive street name change. The Committee of the Whole recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the street name change from North Park Drive to South Port Drive, North-South Port Drive, and Northeast Park Drive to Northeast Sunset Boulevard respectively. To accommodate the required street name changes, it will also be necessary to replace affected local street signs. A review of the affected intersections by the Transportation Department has revealed that 7 signs will be required to be replaced on local streets. Seco Development would be required to coordinate with the Transportation Department for all replacement of all street signage and bear all costs associated with sign replacement. This is signed by the Council President.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Pavoni.
I move that the council concur with the Committee of the Whole committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Pavoni, second by Mr. Prince, that council concur with the Committee of the Whole report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the final report from the Committee of the Whole is the Puget Sound Access Lease. At its December 4th meeting, the Committee of the Whole received a presentation from the administration outlining its recommendations for Carco Theater operations, as well as conducting video services for our government access channel and other operations in 2018. Staff outlined changes to Puget Sound Access, which includes changes in its bylaws, governance, and administration to primarily limit its scope to the operation of Carco Theater. Staff further outlined its intent to continue with the current provider of video services, initially through a temporary employment agreement until such time as a contract for services can be implemented. The Committee of the Whole recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the 1-year extension of the lease between the City of Renton and Puget Sound Access for the operations of Carco Theater. The lease extension will exclude monetary payments from the City of Renton to Puget Sound Access to sustain operations. This is signed by the committee chair, Council President.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Pavoni.
I move that the council concur with the Committee of the Whole committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Pavoni, seconded by Mr. Prince, that council concur with the Committee of the Whole report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, Mr. McIrvin.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Witchy.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Person.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just one unfinished business. I would like to say thank you to all the city staff that showed up at the Renton Senior Center on Thanksgiving Day, and to the Renton Rotary Club for funding the a dinner for the seniors, and also for being there to help. And a special thanks to you yourself, Mr. Mayor, and Ed, and Ruth, and the rest of the cooking crew that showed up. Ed wasn't there at 4:45, but the mayor was.
Yeah.
We were at 4:45 in the morning, Thanksgiving Day, and it went like clockwork. I mean, it was the best meal we've ever put on. We served 235 sit-down meals to the seniors. City staff opened the building up, so there was bingo and just a good social time for the seniors before they had a chance to have what I consider a good dinner. And It was just great, and then we sent home about 250 takeouts with them too, so that they had food for over the weekend. So I just want to say thank you for everybody that was there, because without them, this event would not have gone on, and this is the 23rd year that we've been doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Person. I want to might as well mention that Don's trying to wean himself out of this responsibility after 23 years. And I have to say, it is a heartwarming event to attend. The seniors absolutely appreciate this so much. And there's a lot of people that would be lonely and be home alone for Thanksgiving if it weren't for this. And the volunteerism that we've received from city staff and the members of the Renton Rotary Club all these years has been just tremendous. And it's traditional for us to get up. We've been doing it for decades now, early in the morning to get down there and get the barbecues going and the ovens going. And Don's got it down to clockwork in terms of you got to have the hams in at this time and the turkeys in at this time, and how to make the gravy and warm up the beans and get everything else ready. But anyway, it's a great event, and it's a great community event because the city staff, particularly city staff, but also our Renton Rotarian members, we have to turn people away after a point. We've got so many volunteers. So anyway, great event. Thanks, Don, for all your
Just one
commitment to
other
that.
comment on that. The mayor instructed that I should make a manual so that I could pass it on. And if you can imagine my wife and I, for those that know, sitting at a computer for 2 hours drafting about a 4-page draft, it wasn't a lot of fun. But it's done.
That's great. That's very good. Well, thank you. Okay, let's see. Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, no unfinished business.
Okay, and Mr. Corman?
And no unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moving on to a bunch of resolutions and ordinances. We have 7 ordinances tonight and 3 resolutions.
All right. First resolutions regarding an amended emergency management plan. Resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, adopting the amended City of Renton Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
move the resolution be adopted as read.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Person, second by Mr. Prince, that this resolution be adopted as read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the next resolution is regarding the East Side Transportation Partnership. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an interlocal agreement with the cities of Bellevue, Bothell, Carnation, Clyde Hill, Duval, Issaquah, Kenmore, Kirkland, Medina, Mercer Island, Newcastle, North Bend, Redmond, Sammamish, Snoqualmie, and Woodinville, the towns of Boart Village, Hunts Point, Yarrow Point, and King County, entitled East Side Transportation Partnership Agreement as members of the East Side Transportation Partnership.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the resolution be adopted as read.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Witchy, that this resolution be adopted as read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next resolution is regarding the South County Area Transportation Board. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an interlocal agreement with the cities of Algona, Auburn, Black Diamond, Burien, Covington, Des Moines, Enumclaw, Federal Way, Kent, Maple Valley, Milton, Normandy Park, Pacific, SeaTac, and Tukwila, the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe, and King County, entitled South County Area Transportation Board Agreement as members of the South County Area Transportation Board.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
move the resolution be adopted as read.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Mr. Pavoni, that this resolution be adopted as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the first ordinance is Administrative Code Interpretations. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending sections of Title IV of the Renton Municipal Code, codifying administrative code interpretations from March 24, 2017 to October 3, 2017, including amending the definitions of density net, lot combination, lot legal, lot lines, lot measurements, lot types, lowest floor, and yard requirement, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince, you're going to have to recite what he just said.
Not a chance. Move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Mr. McGurven, that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next ordinance is regarding administrative final plat approval. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending sections and subsections of Title IV of Renton Municipal Code by revising final plat approval procedures pursuant to Senate Bill 5674, allowing final plats resulting in the subdivision of 10 or more lots to be approved administratively and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. McGurven, that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, the next ordinance is regarding non-conforming structures and sites. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending subsections of Title IV of the Renton Municipal Code, adding development regulations related to non-conforming structures and sites, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. McGurven, that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next is regarding a rezone of the Fairwood Wetlands area from R8 to R1 zoning. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, changing the zoning classification of a certain property within the City of Renton, a portion of parcel 24733600270, from residential 8 dwelling units per acre, R8, to residential 1 dwelling unit per acre, R1, with a file number of LUA 16000805.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. McGurven, that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the next ordinance is regarding comprehensive plan map amendments. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, adopting the 2017 amendments to the city's 2015 comprehensive plan maps and data in conjunction therewith.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. McGurven, that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the final ordinance for first reading is regarding supervised injection facilities. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending subsection 4260G and section 41130 of the Renton Municipal Code, prohibiting community health engagement locations in Renton, adding a definition for community health engagement location, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second.
Been
Mr.
moved-
Mayor?
Yeah, yes, sir.
I would just like a clarification on the ordinance. I read it, and I reread it, and I couldn't understand that it clearly, from a citizen standpoint, that it didn't allow injection
That it
sites
prohibits
in the city. So I guess I'm looking to the city attorney to say, yes, they are prohibited.
Yes, it does prohibit. So the way that our code is set up is we have use tables and we define specific uses. If a use is defined and specified in a table, thank you. And it's not listed as being allowed either conditionally or otherwise in that use table, then it's prohibited. So that's what's happening here. It just doesn't have the prohibition language because that's elsewhere in the code where we're not amending it.
Okay, does that,
Yeah, I just want to be sure the public,
Absolutely.
because if the public takes a look at this ordinance and not having the history that the council has, they would think that we weren't prohibiting it, and I want to be sure that this was a big issue with everybody, that we are
I should
prohibiting
clarify,
it.
the title does say prohibited society now.
no. I think this ordinance, which was not necessary, you've already taken action, but this solidifies it as an ordinance. Now, The ordinance is perfectly clear of the council's position that we are not going to allow safe injection sites in the city of Renton. So it's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Ms. Witchy, that this ordinance be moved to second and final reading at the next council meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the final ordinance is for second and final reading. It's regarding Title V finance reporting period and no employee tax regulations. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending sections of Title V of the Renton Municipal Code to streamline city business license processes and taxes by eliminating the per-employee license fee, expanding the business license registration fee exemption for nonprofit organizations to include all persons who are exempt from federal income tax pursuant to 26 U.S. Code subsections 501C or D, lowering the revenue threshold for business and operations tax, clarifying potentially ambiguous language to ensure consistent application of existing business and operations tax and business license regulations, repealing ordinance number 5861 and incorporating herein those changes that remain relevant, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Ms. Witchy.
I move that the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Witchy, second by Mr. Pavoni, that this ordinance be adopted as read, and this requires a roll call.
Mr. Pavoni,
Aye.
Mr. McIrvin,
Aye.
Ms. Witchy,
Aye.
Mr. Person,
Aye.
Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Mr. Corman.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Jason. Moving on to new business, Mr. Pavoni.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On December 11th, Monday at 2 o'clock, there'll be a state auditor exit conference. It'll be held in the council conference room, and there's a possibility of a council quorum, maybe in attendance. There will be no action taken. And also on Monday, December 11th at 5:30, the Committee of the Whole will be meeting in the conferencing center. We have 3 issues to discuss. First is regional issues. Second is 2018 lodging tax fund allocations. And last is economic development update, civic core plan final review. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McIrvin.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, one meeting to announce. On Thursday, December 7th at 3:30 PM in the council conference room, the Utilities Committee will meet. There are 4 items on the agenda. Heather Downs Detention Pond Retrofit Project Grant Agreement, Kennydale 320 Zone Reservoir Project Final Design Contract Amendment, 559 Hoquiam Avenue Northeast Wastewater Latecomers Agreement, and finally, emerging issues in utilities. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Witchy.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Person.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee will meet next Monday, December 11th at 3:30 PM in the council conference room. There's 9 issues we'll be discussing. Should be interesting.
Be a long day.
Okay, number 1, Community Services Department reorganization. 2018 contract for excess loss with Optimum, Unamerica, something like that. Request to overfill water utility GIS engineer position. Reclassification administrative secretary 1 to planning technician. Temporary and seasonal employees wage and benefits changes. 2018 City of Renton Index of Positions and Pay Ranges. Daisy Lockett LLC Professional Service Agreement, vouchers, and emerging issues in revenue streams.
That will be a lively meeting.
It will be a lively meeting, and we'll discuss every one of them, and then we'll have a big, long report at the council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Planning Development Committee will meet on Thursday, December 7th, in the council conference room. We have 4 items on the agenda. Illicit Discharge Regulation Code Amendment, Civic Core Action Plan, Docket 12C, Text Amendment Exemptions, and Emerging Issues in CED. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Corman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a couple of items. First is a meeting announcement. The Public Safety Committee will meet on Monday, December 11th at 5:00 PM in the council conference room. We just have one item on that agenda, and that's emerging issues in public safety. And then the other item that I have is that
the day of our previous council meeting, I had received some correspondence that I just really it came in shortly before the meeting and I didn't have time to study it. But I'd like to take some action on it. I have had a chance to look at it now and understand it. A citizen property owner near the airport has written regarding she has awareness that the council had a discussion about the city-centered community plan and concerns, citizens had brought up concerns about us using eminent domain on the river walk element. And we had put that to rest with a very affirmative statement saying we weren't going to use eminent domain to execute on that plan, that we'd look for other ways to obtain the property. But this property owner that wrote to me mentioned that she has a property that's along the Lake Washington Loop trail, the bike path extension, which has been in work for many, many years. And with regard to that, the city has, or somebody, I think the city has sent a letter saying that eminent domain might be used. And so the question was posed whether the council decision that we'd made on the city core plan was applicable to that trail. My proposal would be that I would really like to refer this to the administration and the attorney for a review on the topic based on, what the expressed intentions of the council was and how far reaching that city core plan is versus the trail, with maybe a memo back to the council on whether on what the response to the correspondence would be. And then I guess the council could look at it at that point. Does that seem reasonable?
Sure.
Okay. So I'll forward it along right after the meeting then.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, and that's all I have.
Yes, Mr. Pavoni.
Yeah, I forgot to bring up one issue. So there's a street that I would like to refer to the administration to have looked at, and I believe it's High Street or High Avenue, and it's the little cut-through street behind the McDonald's.
It's Hayes Place.
Hayes
Hayes
Place,
Place.
not High Street, Hayes Place. And it seems to have, I was told at one point there was a no parking sign along that road, but it seemed to have turned into kind of an odd temporary parking, and there's a lot of dumping going on there, and
Okay.
so we like to have
That's
that
right off
looked
of
at.
Renton Avenue?
Right off of Renton Avenue,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It's right behind McDonald's off of Rayner Avenue.
Okay, we'll take care of that. Shane, do we need a motion for these types of things?
No.
Okay, good. So we'll take care of that. We'll report back to you.
Thank you.
Okay? Anything else? What's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn?
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Mr. Pavoni, that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.